From a villainous hideout on the moon to the community center in Angel Grove, all the way to the mysterious command center, you're listening to Mighty Morphin Podcast Rangers, where we cover everything from TV to movies and comics.
Welcome to another episode of Mighty Morphin Podcast Rangers. I'm your host, Adam, and with me is my co-host, Nick. Nick, how's it going?
Adam, it's morphin time.
It is indeed.
Doing great, sir.
And if the scheduling goes according to plan, our audience will be watching and listening to this on the 29th anniversary of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
29. Wow.
You know what that says to me, Nick?
What does that say to you? That we're getting older?
We're getting old, yeah.
We're getting old. That's right.
Soon they're going to cast me in the Batman Beyond movie as Batman. It's only a couple of years away. Okay,
hopefully.
But I hope they don't cast me because that means it's taken that long to get it. And by the time I hit 70, we're looking at another 40 some odd years.
I was thinking more like you'd be a better older Tommy Oliver than maybe, Bruce Wayne.
I thought I would do, but I need to have Amy Jo Johnson as my co-star. Like that's my. Listen, I have requirements, and that's one of my demands.
Making demands already. Look at
that's
that.
That's right. I'm Henry Cavill. Making all kinds of demands apparently, but no, we're not here to. Well, all the Batman and Superman allegories kind of make sense because on the anniversary of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Nick and I decided let's combine our fandoms, just the way Boom Studios and DC Comics did. And the way we're going to do that is by reviewing Justice League, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And that's the physical copy of the book right there.
There you go.
This is a graphic novel that was written by, it was a comic miniseries, then obviously turned into a graphic novel, written by Tom Taylor, who everybody knows, that reads good comic books will know who Tom Taylor is, because he's a fantastic writer. And it was drawn by, I believe it's Stephen Berg. I believe is the artist's name. It came out in 2017, correct, Nick?
17, 16, maybe 16, 17, around there. Yeah.
Either way, I think
around the time the movie came out. Yeah.
You know what's funny is, and I don't think this was by accident. This book came out around the same time as both the first ever Justice League movie and the Power Rangers reboot movie.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is
good point.
Again, I don't think that's a coincidence. Now, I remember hearing about this book like as it was happening. I had the physical issues, and I remember thinking, when the idea, when the comic sites started, reporting on this, I'm like, well, I never thought of this pairing before, but I guess it does. It could work, and boy, was I happy when I read it, that it actually, in fact, did work. And both the writer and artist did a fantastic job, I think, on unifying and melding the two worlds. So just before we get into the thick of it, Nick, what was your kind of, when you heard about this, what was your thought process on it?
Well, yeah, first and foremost, I'm just mad at myself that it took me this long to even read it. I know you were telling me personally, Adam, that I would really love this issue, and as somebody who didn't even know that Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a thing, when you combine two of my real first childhood loves, which were DC, count that with Batman and Justice League and Power Rangers together, I'm like, it's like my childhood dream come together. I mean, so honestly, I read it and I thought it was awesome. I mean, it was just like everybody, the pairings were awesome, the dialogue was great. Like I said, I didn't know this thing like even existed, and what you just said so beautifully too is I didn't know this pairing could actually work. But when you throw Tom Taylor in there, you're gonna kind of get what you got.
Right, exactly. So the perfect sequel for you would probably be Power Rangers Time Force and Batman Beyond, right? Or
Oh
Justice League.
God,
Yeah, yeah.
Adam, you somebody get the Kickstarter up and running. Let's get this going. Oh
Start a
my God.
hashtag campaign. Let's go. No, but yeah. So no, I knew when when we started, doing this podcast, I knew that at some point we'd have to review this because I knew it would be right up your alley,
Yep.
and I'm glad it seems like you enjoyed it. So
Mhm.
we'll definitely get right into the thick of things. So the book opens on like it shows you a picturesque kind of Angel Grove to start.
Mhm.
And then it quickly transitions to a crater in the ground that used to be where Angel Grove was.
Mhm.
The Power Rangers are all looking in sort of shock. Um, Zach, in particularly, is blaming himself. And then, out of nowhere, to start the book, you hear a voice saying, "This wasn't your fault." And the reveal is it's Superman. And I mean, you open the cover, you know that they're going to be together. But that opening is like, what? Wait a minute. What?
Mhm.
How did this happen? Where are we going? Right? So,
Yeah.
and then through like the story does one of those, I think it was 36 hours earlier,
Yep.
and it shows you the events that led to that moment.
Mhm.
But what did you specifically think of that opening? Like, were you instantly drawn in, or?
Yeah, it was an interesting choice too, because like you said, it kind of like the book kind of just starts, right? Like there's no really like build up to, oh, here's the Power Rangers, then here's the Justice League. Right? It's like they're kind of just thrown in there right away, which is it's fine. It's comics, you can kind of take those kind of liberties like that. But yeah, it was kind of a cold open to be quite honest, and it actually set the stage to me that this was more of a Zack story that had Power Rangers and Justice League mixed into it. So obviously for people that grew up with the series, uh, let's call it what it was. Zach wasn't really the most serious of characters. He wasn't. I
Yeah,
don't
it
think
was the hip hop
most people's
keto, and yeah,
favorite character. He was more of the hipster of the group, right? He was kind of an afterthought. Which
yeah,
again, no offense, but
hip hop keto, and
yeah,
and and you trying to get the girl. Which, hey, listen,
yeah.
with the amount of
We all
multiverses
can
I
relate
have,
to that.
with the amount of multiverses I have, I get it, buddy. But yeah, no. This
But yeah,
book
he's the
really went
spotlight of
out
the
of the
book.
yeah. This book really went out of their way, and that you bring up Zach,
Hmm.
to make him. And I'm gonna use a quote from a very polarizing filmmaker. Zach was the heart of the story, much like apparently Cyborg was the heart of Justice League. I still didn't get that impression, but that's just me. Anyway, Zach was the heart of the story, and so I agree with your sentiment there that he was he was really
Hmm.
he was the key, and what I liked about it is that you open on that and you're confused. You're like, what's going on?
Hmm.
And then you're taken to the command center, and the action never stops. Like,
Yep.
Alpha's missing. The team splits up and starts looking for Alpha, and then Zach finds him,
Hmm.
but it's not really Alpha. It's a bomb. It's a phony Alpha with a bomb that was planted by Zed. The bomb goes off. Zed and the party's attack. Like it's mayhem. It's like if Michael Bay directed a team-up movie between Power Rangers and Justice League, this would probably be it. What's that?
That's probably who would do it.
Yeah, which means Megan Fox would be Kimberly. And listen, I wouldn't be opposed to that because Megan Fox on the list. But listen, I had to do it. It had to be that. It's not an episode on my podcast network. If the pen doesn't click, folks, that's the way it works around here.
Donnie, please clip this out.
Yeah, no, it's staying in. Yeah. So, it's nonstop action, and people are probably. I mean, as you're reading, you're probably wondering, well, how does the Justice League get involved? Well, in his fight against Zed, Zach basically teleports the both of them out of the command center. Mm-hmm. But because the explosion and the teleporter and the technology being sort of out of whack, they end up on a different universe. So, what was your take on all that? Well, how did you see it?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, let's be real. I mean, Zed invading the command center is about as big as it gets. Kudos to Zed for coming up with that plan. Just blowing up Alpha 5 like that. Oh, that's something. My takeaway too is, again, Zach actually going up against Lloyd Zed, like him just casually thinking he can go toe to toe with him, right? I mean, it's not Jason, it's not Tommy, it's Zach that kind of goes up and ultimately loses in the end. But you know what? Honestly, the whole thing, I think it's a smart choice of them being in different dimensions, because then it really differentiates that, Power Rangers cannot exist in a world in which Justice League exists, and kind of vice versa. So I like that, it's this idea of a shattered dimension or an altered dimension that kind of brings them
they have to be
together.
Yeah.
Yep. I like that a lot.
And so then on the DC Earth, I guess we'll call it.
Sure.
Zach ends up in Gotham and encounters Batman. And just for some context, when you look at the art, Batman is wearing his New 52.
I was going to say New 52
costume.
Look, yeah.
Which I had no issues with the New 52 Batman costume. I thought it was pretty cool. And it had a nod to the yellow oval because the bat symbol was outlined in yellow. So it wasn't a yellow oval, but it was like, yeah, look, we'll nod to it, which was good enough at the time. I allowed it. So, Zach is confronted by Batman. Zach mistakes Batman for one of Zed's monsters. And the interplay between them is pretty interesting, especially when they start fighting, and then the Power Rangers teleport to Zach because they realize that he's gone missing, and they want to rescue him. So they take the risk of using the teleporter, and they end up too in the DC universe. So Batman at one point is by himself against the Power Rangers, and he radios to the Justice League, specifically the Flash. The Flash shows up and disarms the Rangers of their weapons, and then the rest of the Justice League is summoned by Batman and Flash, and so then it's a meeting of the two sets of heroes, and they kind of shake things out and work things out. But what I loved about this whole meeting was the interplay, the back and forth between the two teams. Like, Zach is like, how the hell am I supposed to know that you're one of the heroes?
Yeah, that was funny.
You're so scary and intimidating. And Superman has some, and Flash has some jabs at Batman. They're like, yeah, he likes to intimidate new people. And one of them, I think it was Jon Stewart, that said, when he's like, yeah, he thought Batman was a villain. He's like, well, if you didn't know, no, it was Flash.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, if I didn't know who Batman was, I think he was a villain too. So like
Yeah.
that comedy there was pretty funny. Yeah, I liked all that. And then when Kimberly noticed that Flying Man, aka Superman, arrived on the scene, she got in her pterodactyl. And Flash, when he calls the rest of the reserves, he's like, "We need everybody," and they're like, "Why? What's up?" And he's like, "Well, I never thought I'd say this, but there's a flying robotic dinosaur," and so it's like just like the discovery of all that and
Yeah.
the Justice League reacting to that was gold. So what did you think about that? I love the interplay. I thought it was all.
Oh, dude, I thought like that whole panel, all those panels I thought were awesome. I mean, like that's really like what the book was made for, right? It was to give you those little interplays, like you said, like that. And it's funny too, because again, I'm gonna probably bring the call back again, but if anybody's read Peter Tomasi's Batman and TMNT run, um, the Batman and Zack encounter, and then when the Justice League gets involved, is kind of very reminiscent of that, where like Batman could probably hold his own against them, but of course there's too many of them, so he
Yeah.
needs a Justice League to get involved, and like you said, and then obviously for me, like I'm an emotional reader as well as a viewer, so like it's funny again that and again it's really funny because what Tom Taylor would go on to actually write Superman, the way he portrays Superman in this book, I thought is fantastic the whole way through, and it's
Oh, he
really
gets it.
it's really when Superman like enters the scene is when everything becomes grounded at him. I think
That's when everything
it's like
calms down. Like it's like
yep,
he's the calming influence. Like, all right, enough of this. Enough of the
yep,
nonsense. Let's talk it out.
yep,
Um, and I love that because it just shows the leadership of Superman
yep,
and that calming influence that he has. And on the other side of the equation, it's Jason that's saying, "All right, stop this." Like he's
yep,
telling the other Rangers, "Enough." So you get the two leaders kind of the cooler heads prevailing.
yep.
Whereas Batman still doesn't trust him, which is
Hmm.
apropos of Batman, and it's like, but I just really thought that was all really fantastic.
Hmm.
Like Tom Taylor, I mean, I always knew that he loved Superman,
Hmm.
so I knew that he would be able to write Superman, well and be true to the character. But just the way he sort of quickly got the Power Rangers, and they were bang on. Like it wasn't. It's like certain writers, if they never had a familiar with the characters,
Hmm.
the way the characters were written. But with this, and I don't know if this is the case, but I get the sense that back in the '90s, I don't know how old Tom Taylor is, but he probably watched Power Rangers. Is my
Right.
guess. I could be wrong.
No, it definitely sounds like he has some background of it. Yeah, because the way that he drew the Power Rangers, which I don't know if you feel this way too, but I think the Power Rangers are drawn spectacularly
Yeah,
in
Stephen
this
Byrne
book
did a
too.
great job with
I think they look better than the Justice League characters, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
like the Justice League with the way
Yeah.
they look, but I think you know what it was. This fits because, let's be honest, the bulk of the book ends up taking place in the Power Rangers universe.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So the art style is more reflective of a Power Ranger comic
Yep.
than it is a DC Justice League
Hmm.
tale. But I still thought the Justice League looked solid.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Um, it reminded me that when I looked at the Justice League and I remembered that, okay, this is, those costumes that you have behind you, the New 52. I'm like, one of the things that there were a lot of issues with the New 52.
Hmm.
One of them was not the way the characters' costumes looked. I think the costumes looked fine.
Right.
Um, so, um, I really like that whole early exchange. And then you realize that when the two teams start to understand what the plan is, specifically because after that moment we see a little bit of a exchange between Lord Zed and, on the DC side of things, Brainiac. So, and it seems like, Brainiac's whole thing was still, I want to gather Earth or worlds. I want to gather species. I want to study them. I get the sense that Lord Zed was still, ultimately wants to take over the world and all that jazz, but his main focus is still, I got to get rid of the Power Rangers. Like, my main focus is, how am I get rid of these Power Rangers, right? So
yeah,
and they're like, and in exchange, you can have a city from my world, which is Angel Grove, and that's the deal that
bad
they
guys
made.
making deals with each other.
Yeah, it's like basically politics,
Yeah.
but on a bigger scale. But and so when the Power Rangers, and one of the ways you neutralize the Power Rangers, or in theory, is take away their Zords and their Morphers, and that's exactly what Zed and Brainiac do when Zed arrives, and Zed and Brainiac arrive, and they present. He allows him to take Angel Grove, and I thought the one takeaway from that I took was, when Angel Grove was swept up, and I want to get your thoughts on that. Where there's that one moment where Zach sees his parents, and they're both talking to each other, but they can't hear each other because of the force field. Wow. What I liked about that scene was it was very touching in the sense that it shows the sort of the responsibility and the hardship of being a Power Ranger, because they don't really often delve into it on the show, but what they do in this comic is they make it like, every time the Power Rangers go off to save the Earth, they've got to find a way to sneak out of school or get away from their parents.
Right.
And they can't say, "Hey, Mom, Dad, I'm a Power Ranger. I saved the world," right? You can't. So you've got to come up with lies, excuses. And that will put a strain on the relationship. And that's what, Zach and his parents had just had an argument, because they're like, "You're gone all the time. Where do you go? What do you," and it's so it really showed the strain more than any other book up until that point, that or piece of entertainment regarding the Power Rangers that I saw before this, had really sort of hammered that idea home, that, man, the responsibility and the things that you have to put on hold when you're a Power Ranger, it really put that into perspective. What did you think on all that?
Yeah, I thought the moment between Zach and his parents was beautiful, because, like you just said, in the seasons, especially the earlier ones, we never got those kind of interactions. That's
just
why.
to sneak around the corner and go,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Right.
it's why I admired what the movie did a lot too. Like when Jason goes to save his dad in the movie, like that's a moment that really does hit. And like parents aren't like, well, stupid. Well, most of them I don't think are.
You can hide stuff from them for a time, but eventually
but
they'll
like
figure
parents
it out.
know for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Like they know, like they just want you to think they don't
shady
know.
crap. They're like, what's going on?
Yeah. But yeah, as far as the other stuff goes, it's like when you watched the Power Rangers series, and when the Zords actually got destroyed, when it ended on that cliffhanger, when Zed actually destroyed all the Zords. That's kind of the moment that it kind of reminded me of too, like where it's again like now the power coins are gone. You're bringing them in the hands of Zed and Brainiac. Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
So then it comes down to, okay, well, now can the Justice League trust them, right? And then we get that beautiful panel of like, oh, well, here's some costumes for you guys because you guys can't just go out in public and fight putties and Zed, without a disguise, right? Because then everybody's gonna know who you guys are. So
Right.
then, like Adam, it just turns into like this DC Universe book, and Justice League, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah. The arrival of Brainiac really balanced the scales, like made it a 50-50 book, even though a lot of the action took place in Angel Grove. Like the fact that Brainiac was a central figure really kind of but before they went over to there was when it picks up again on that scene where Zach is looking at the hole where Angel Grove used to be. And he's like, Superman was like, we'll figure out a way, to save your home and your planet. He's like, I know how you're feeling. And he's like, how would you know? And he's like, I lost a planet too. But the difference is we can save yours. And again, that in that same breath, it shows you the weight that Superman carries. I mean, he didn't spend a lot of time on Krypton.
Right.
But I think, and I don't want to get all Dr. Phil psychoanalyzing Superman.
Sure.
But imagine you're put in a ship as a small child, and as you're flying away to safety, in the background, your planet explodes. In the recesses of your mind, that is going to have an effect on you. I don't care how old or young you are. I mean, that presumably something like that would stay with you, even if you spend maybe a couple of years on that planet.
Sure.
You were so small. So again, it underscores the heaviness that Superman is constantly dealing with, and his end game is, my job here is to ensure that something like that, whether by means of villains doing it or by means of humanity screwing things up so bad that they do it to themselves, my goal is to make sure that the people of Earth never go through what the people of Krypton did. So it shows you how much weight he's carrying. So instantly, like in this big team-up book, you really get an idea of the pressure and all the weight that these heroes have to bear, and I think it's very well put together, and it really shows that effectively. So one of the things that I know that I was wondering, and I'm sure you were and a lot of readers, was when the Power Rangers end up on the DC Earth, even the characters are like, well, how are we supposed to get home?
Right.
And so they're all in the watchtower and they're trying to come up with a scheme. And I like how Superman, there's that thing where he talks about each of the members, and it's like each of the strengths of the different characters.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was really cool. And when he got to Batman, he's like, well, and here's Batman, and he's good at this, that, and the other. Well, why? Well, because he's Batman, and that was the only explanation needed. But the fact that they used a real world kind of device in the CERN Hadron Collider, I think it is, to sort of create a wormhole to allow them to go to the Power Ranger. I mean, look, it's fantastical mumbo jumbo, right?
Right.
To get them there. But the idea that they used a real world sort of piece of technology, I thought was very, very cool. And how the Justice League got access to that was like, because when they come up with a plan, they're like, that's great, but they're not just going to let you, the Power Rangers are like, they're not just going to let you use that.
Right.
Billy was like, he's like, They wouldn't let Batman use it, but they'll let somebody else use it, and that somebody else is Superman.
Yep.
Because if Superman goes in asking for something, who's going to say no to Superman, right?
Right.
So that's how they get permission to use it, and that's how they're able to. And again, I love how in creating the vortex, wormhole, however you want to phrase it, like there's a member of both. There's something from both teams that play, like in that's vital to getting the two teams over to the other side. So from the Justice League perspective, it's Green Lantern sort of holding everything together so that they can create the wormhole. And then it's Tommy's Dragon Dagger because they need a relic from the Power Rangers Earth to get over. And the only thing that Zed didn't take away was the Dragon Dagger. So that again, it wasn't just, hey, the DC characters did it all to get over to the power. It was the way it was constructed was a well thought out. It was fair amongst both sides. That's one of the drawbacks of crossovers, be them movies or comics or whatever, is when one side becomes overly predominant.
Yeah, and I mean this is like when we really get into the meat of the book, is now you're getting what you would call fan service moments, right? Where now you're getting the interactions that I think you're reading the book for, which you get like some cool moments of dialogue between Billy and Cyborg. Like that's a cool pairing.
Yeah.
Like who would have thought of that one at the time, right? You get like some Flash and Zach kind of have some moments together. Jason and Batman kind of have a cool standoff, which, let's be honest, if anyone's going to go toe-to-toe with Batman, it would be Tommy. Just throwing that out there. Jason and Superman kind of have a cool thing. Then you have like Kimberly and Wonder Woman kind of have some cool moments. So, it's like I like that each of them kind of play off of a different Justice League member really, really well. And that kind of sets the stage very well for what's to come.
Yeah, and when they go over there, when they get over to the Power Rangers, it's interesting because, now the Power Rangers have to sort of take the lead, but they don't have their morphers or power coins. So how do you gain the upper hand against Zed and Brainiac when you don't have access to that? And I love how Batman had weaponry in the Javelin. And he's like, oh, I brought some extra thing. And it's all weaponry from different heroes and villains. And so, like Jason, I love how it's so simple, but you need to make it happen. It needs to be this way. Each of the Rangers took something that was representative of their color scheme. So Jason had the Red Hood helmet.
Yep, which is cool.
Yeah, it was cool. The Green Ranger had Lexus battle armor. Kimberly had the boxing glove arrow from
Be Wildcat maybe?
No, it was from Green Arrow.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And she had the cowl of Hawk Girl.
Yep.
Which keeps with the flying bird kind of motif, right?
It's a good call.
Zach had, the hell was Zach wearing? I can't remember.
Zach took the oh god, what did Zach take? Yeah, that's a good point. I can't remember what Zach took. I just read this too.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. But it's something, but it was all black anyway. Like his outfit was predominantly all black.
Yeah.
But no, I liked. I thought it was pretty cool that they still maintained through the color scheme. Their and I like the way Kimberly was fascinated by the boxing glove arrow. where at first she's like skeptical. She's like, well, what the hell is this gonna do? But then eventually she's like, yeah, I get it.
Oh yeah. Looks like he just Zach kind of took the Mr. Terrific look. It looks like to me.
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
yeah. Good point.
Yeah. There you
Good
go.
point. Good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So no, but I thought that was a cool. Again, is there a little element of cheese to it? Yeah, but you know what? With the Power Rangers, you gotta have a little bit of that. It can't be. I mean, you can't make even whatever the ultimate reboot ends up being, whatever this reboot universe ends up being.
Mm-hmm.
It cannot be the Power Rangers version of the Batman. I mean, like you can't completely take the elements out of the cheesy element out of the. A part of it needs to be there. So I thought, yeah, it's a little cheesy, but it's fun.
Yeah, it works.
So
yeah.
I like that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I thought was pretty funny was Wonder Woman just walking into the UN.
Yeah. Who are you?
And they're like, and she's like, yeah, I know I'm from a different, I'm from a different Earth, but
yeah, just flat
but
out.
it was just like she's like, yeah, I'm Wonder Woman. I don't care. I'm walking into the UN. What are they gonna say to me?
Yeah, that was awesome. That was cool.
I just love that sort of display of confidence,
Mm-hmm.
and it reminded me of the Wonder Woman 2017 movie where she walks into when in the British or whatever the hell it was, they're making their plans, and she just walks in and like, I need to say something, and so it reminded me of that.
Yep.
A bit, which I liked, and then the Power Rangers come in their makeshift kind of borrowed outfits, and they reassure the UN, and they're like, these people are with us, and all that, and so part of the plan is for Superman to go in, cause a distraction, and get back the power morphers and the coins.
Mm-hmm.
And he does. And again, that was a big, like, what the book does, and it does a great job with Superman, is that balance of, calming, peaceful influence and, take charge superhero. And you really see that when he flies through Brainiac's ship to get that. Like he's in badass Superman mode. Like he's like, he's fed up. Like he's taken off the gloves, and he knows he can because we're dealing with an alien and a robot.
Yep.
And Batman even makes a point, right, when he's concocting the plan, and he's like, we're dealing with aliens and robots. We don't have to pull our punches.
Mm.
So like even Batman has his, he's like, okay, with humans, yes, but with these guys, let loose, right? Mm-hmm. And so you see that from Superman. Of course, Brainiac has kryptonite handy, which causes some issue. Yeah. But Superman is able to, in the interim, get a hold of the power morphers. So again, I like the fact that they're using Superman smartly here, because theoretically, right? Mm-hmm. If you write Superman, or if you handle Superman the wrong way, where he's too all powerful and you can do whatever you want, then what do you need the Power Rangers and the Justice League for? Like, hypothetically,
right,
a fully powered Superman could just go in and handle Brainiac and Zed on his own, right?
Yeah, that's a great point.
But they've constructed it in a way where you need the other guys, and Superman is used in a very specific fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought the way they handled that was was well put together.
Mm-hmm.
Because the temptation, and again, Tom Taylor being a huge Superman fan, the
Yeah.
temptation has to be there whenever you're writing Superman. Oh, just have him go in and
Mm-hmm. Well, we all know how he writes Injustice Superman, so we don't have to revisit
yeah.
that thing. But
Right. Um, and that's a very specific take on Superman, and for
right,
that story it works because of the kind of story it's telling.
exactly.
But also, he's proven in later years with what he's doing with Superman, Son of Kal-El, which is great.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
So he knows how to write the traditional good-natured Superman, even though he spent a bunch of his time writing the angry,
Yep.
quote unquote evil Superman.
Yep.
But along the way, and I thought this was very clever. Earlier in the story, Cyborg is infected
Mm.
by Brainiac, by a virus via Brainiac, and so Batman, with the help of Superman and Billy, is able to. I mean, Billy stabs him with his lance there, and Superman's holding Cyborg, and Batman is able to do something to reprogram him.
Mm-hmm.
And there was it was a very small exchange, but
Yep. Yeah.
Superman's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm reprogramming him." And he's like, "And Victor knows you're able to do this?" He's like, "We don't have time for this." Like
Yeah.
Batman,
Yeah.
whenever Batman doesn't want to talk, not now, or we don't have time for this.
Tower
And
of Babel.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was
Yep.
like, this. It calls back to that, and I
Yep.
loved it because that's a great story.
That is a great story.
So there's always that dynamic of Batman withholding information from his
Yep.
teammates, which is carried over here, and even Cyborg when he comes to, and he's like, "Why is there a hole?" And Billy's like, "Sorry, I had to stab you." and then he's like, "What happened?" And he's like, and Superman's like, "Batman reprogramming." He's like, "You did what?" And they're fighting a tree. He's like, "We don't have time for this." So
Yeah.
it shows you those kind of moments, despite their dysfunction. I think one of the similarities I think that the Justice League and Power Rangers share
Mm-hmm.
is that while they may not be blood family, they certainly behave as if they're family. So it goes beyond just essentially superhero co-workers. But then ultimately, Cyborg's sort of virus plays a hand in the big battle at the end. But as we get there, there's a big third act battle that includes the Zords, Alpha 5, who was captured at one point by Brainiac but has gotten loose, and much like the Megazord and Rita and Zed's monsters, for the first time ever, I think, and I could be wrong, but from my memory, in Power Rangers history, Alpha grows to a big, Megazord size.
I think Zed too, right?
Zed too, yeah, which is I think the first time in Power Rangers history for all of these characters.
Yeah.
And they're part of the big battle with the Megazord and all that. And my God, the art was amazing in these sequences.
Oh God, yeah.
Seeing the Megazord battle a giant Lord Zed was I've always wanted, like, this is, and like, just, there was a scene where, like, the Megazord the sword is clashing with Zed's staff, and I'm like, oh, that's like,
Yeah.
that's the epitome of the perfect splash page.
Yeah.
And there's even a scene where, because, you know, magic is involved, right? With so Superman's kind of incapacitated, and underneath the bat, like, as these two big behemoths are going at it, underneath all that you see a small shot of Batman, you know, helping Superman to safety, and it's like the detail on that page. I was like, this is incredible.
Yep.
And of course, that big battle was essentially just to hold off Brainiac and his forces long enough for Cyborg and Billy to concoct their plan, which was to willingly let Brainiac reinfect Cyborg with the purpose of giving Brainiac a virus.
Pretty ballsy plan.
That's how they take Brainiac off the board.
Yep.
And then Lord Zed is undone when Kimberly, I think she's on top of one of the Zords. And she does it. She hits him with the boxing glove arrow and just knocks him upside the head and knocks him out. And I'm like, you know what? That works. And it was.
That gets the job done.
You know what made me laugh was the fact that she was so skeptical about it.
Yeah.
When she got it, she's like, what's this going to do? And then when she uses it, she's like, oh, I get it now. I get it. I thought that was cool. So the Justice League and Power Rangers then use Brainiac's technology to unshrink Angel Grove and put it back in place. And there was a whole exchange was like, yeah, where I think it was the Flash. He's like, as they're trying to like, they're trying to like position Brainiac's tech so that the beam will put Angel Grove right back where, like, in his proper position. So I think it was Flash. He's like, hello to the left, hello to the left. And then the Power Rangers are like, okay, we're dealing with putting an entire
a little
city
more
back
to the
in
left.
place. I need something more scientific than a little more to the left. He's like, why don't we ask Superman? So they're like, Superman, is this right? He's like, as a joke, he's like, a little more to the left. I think that was pretty funny.
That was amazing.
And then, of course, so they save the day, and there's a great shot of like the Megazord overlooking the restored Angel Grove, and I love that shot.
Yeah,
so
that's a great shot.
I absolutely love.
Yep.
So, and then, you know, there's a bit of an epilogue where the Rangers and the Justice League in their civilian identities are at the juice bar, you know, just you know, enjoying a beverage and you know, reveling in their victory. And
the juice bar sure makes a lot of money, doesn't it, Adam?
I mean, Jesus, it's quite the happening place apparently. And so they order whatever, and Batman's like, I've got this.
Yeah, that was cool.
And at first they're like, you know, the Rangers are like, how can he afford all this? He's like, and you know, Flash is like, don't worry, he always has money on it. He can pay. And then I think Zach notices as he goes to give him, he's like, you can't pay. He's like, yeah, don't worry, I got it. And he's like, no, you literally can't. And he's like, well, why not? And he's like, because we never had that president. And on the bill is President Lex Luthor. And I thought that was so clever.
That was awesome.
I'm like, that's ingenious. I don't know who's going to get the bill, but that's freaking ingenious.
Oh, God, that was amazing.
That was the funniest little, it was like the Avengers shawarma scene, but better.
Yeah.
I thought. And then at the very end, we see that, you know, the Justice League is saying their goodbyes. Zordon opens a portal for them to go home, and they each give each other a communication device, and they're like, if we ever need each other again, we could just call on each other.
Yeah.
And then Alpha's doing his thing where he's I this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the last I, you see that Brainiac has actually, or remnants of Brainiac, have infected Alpha 5, and that's how it ends. Which was really cool, but I'm gutted because
Right.
where's my sequel?
I know. Where's the next 6 issues?
Come on. You can't tell me this didn't sell well.
Oh, I had to. Yeah.
So where's my sequel? Come on, DC, Boom Studios, Tom Taylor. Where is it? I want it.
Yeah.
Don't make me start a hashtag, because I'll do it. But no, yeah, so that was a cool ending, but again, when it ends like that and then a sequel doesn't happen, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
But what did you think of that third act?
I mean, I thought the third act was awesome. It was pure Power Rangers and Justice League. I love that the spotlight was always on the Power Rangers, which was cool. And again, it harks back to, this was a pairing that you didn't think could work and ended up working in a Blades of Glory. The third act, yeah, I'm kind of with you. I was like, because I got the hardcover too, and I'm like reading it, and there's so many other pages. I'm like, oh, is there like a epilogue or a prologue or something that like follows up a little bit? And I'm like, no, it kind of just ends on this cliffhanger. So it's one of those like, yeah, it's like the story was so good and it was so cool that it's one of those, you would think that there's a follow up to this, but it's a weird thing. It's almost like an episode of Power Rangers or Justice League, I guess, where it's like the adventure continues, I guess, right? And you kind of just have to play in your head that eventually they reunite and they get Alpha back, I guess,
What? Again, I don't understand how.
It's an odd choice, though. Yeah.
Can we not somehow get back to? I mean, look, they did Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which we'll review on this show. That'll probably be one of the next ones we review.
Right.
And that's getting a sequel.
Yeah.
So why can't this? Or at least capitalize. I mean, I know DC Animation did the Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
It's great. It's a good movie.
Wouldn't this be a great animated movie?
Oh, God, yeah. I can even just imagine like the art style,
and get the original voice. Yeah. This is the way to get the original actors back. Get them to do this. Call back Kevin Conroy, Tim Daly, the cast of the Justice League animated series, and make this movie.
God,
come on.
So good.
How does it not?
Yeah. Yeah, and even to your point too, like how there hasn't been a sequel too. I mean, this was like 2017, maybe late 2016. I think it was more 2017 though. You would think there's more comic readers now that would probably get interested in something like this.
Is it possibly
now than there was back then?
Maybe could it possibly be because the DC universe has changed?
Maybe, yeah.
So that is not the continuity anymore?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you're right. Because it does, it has that new 52.
But even still, continuity, who cares?
Yeah. Or you can just do like a time jump too. Like maybe like the art style is more modern today. Like like you can easily work around that. You can easily work around that.
Yeah. So I don't know. It baffles me because there's no world that I can see that this didn't do well.
Me neither.
Because Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic sold like gangbusters.
Yep.
Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sold like gangbusters. So I don't get it. Maybe because
if anything, these are the type of crossovers that you should be doing in comics right now.
Maybe they want Tom Taylor back and he's just too busy right now. I mean,
yeah, so that's Superman and Nightwing. That's a good point too.
Plus the deceased stuff that he's right and I don't know if you're reading it. The medieval Justice League story. That's really good. That's like Game of Thrones meets DC minus the nudity.
There you go.
But that's good. So he's got a lot of stuff on his plate. So maybe it's a case of they're just waiting for him and he's too busy.
Or maybe they're waiting for the next Power Rangers movie or series to come out to go ahead and do it.
I
You
hope they're
know,
not waiting for the next Justice League movie because who
that
knows when
might
this
be longer, unfortunately.
who knows when this 10-year plan is gonna kick into effect. But no, so I wish there was more. I hope that one day, smart business people get together and say, hey, that was good, let's do it again.
Mhm.
And they get the band back together. But we've already talked about, before we give our rating, what was your favorite, if you had to pick a favorite page of art, what would it be?
Oh God, a favorite page. I would say, I mean, God, I gotta pick one, right? I like the panel of when Tommy hands the dragon dagger to Superman, because that to me signified like the trust between the both of them, and just to see Tommy interacting with Superman in kind of like a sentimental moment like that, I thought was awesome. What would be yours?
For me, it still has to be that Megazord versus
Oh,
uh, like
yeah,
Giant Lord Zed, with
yeah,
Batman and Superman kind of running for cover
yeah.
underneath them. Like just the skill and the detail of that page,
Mm-hmm.
it just blows me away. Like I could never draw,
Yeah.
let alone draw like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just amazed by the talent involved there.
Yep.
Uh, but I love this book. I really, it's one of my favorite crossovers in comics that I've read. So with that being said, let's give it a rating. Remember, we do 5 for story and out of 5 for story and 5 for art. So what would you give it?
So for story, I'm gonna give this a 4.5 power coins out of 5.
Oh,
Just because like it's a excellent story, but that cliffhanger and not following up on that cliffhanger as of right now still kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. But that's like the most thing I can nitpick out of here. The art, I'm giving this a 5 out of 5 because I think it's spectacular. The whole thing is spectacular. How about you?
yeah, for me, it's 4.5 power coins out of 5 for the story, the same as you. I like that. That's what we're going to do for
Power
rating from now on. I like
exactly
that. That's good.
PowerPoint
All right,
ratings.
good job, Nick. We figured that out. And then for the art, I thought it was fantastic. So 5 power coins out of 5 for me.
Yep.
So in total, it'd be a 9.5 out of 10.
Yep.
And
Agreed.
I think when you're talking about comics to get those kind of scores, you've had a good time.
Oh, 100%.
And so, yeah, I loved it. It brought together 2 of my favorite properties. And you know, it's funny rereading this last night. I know I shouldn't let myself wonder and imagine, but
Oh, sure.
given when this was released and how close it was to both movies,
Mm-hmm.
I would have, and I know Hollywood would never, God forbid, they share profits. But man, would I have loved the 2017 Justice League actors
Mm-hmm.
and the 2017 Power Ranger actors to be in a crossover movie. Oh,
Yeah, that'd have been awesome. That really would have
and
been cool.
DC
Yeah.
and Hasbro or yeah, whoever owns E1. You guys want to
Mm-hmm.
make $1 billion movie or close to
That'll
billion?
do it.
So yeah, no, I would have. I just every time I saw the characters, I'm like, yeah, uh, I'd love to see again. Now just talking about, it, I'd love to see it turned into an animated movie. So,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, if the comic is all we get, it was a great comic, and I'm glad that I have it as part of my collection. And yeah, it made this fan very happy, and judging by what you said, it made you very happy too. So
Yep.
they did their job, and not only did Nick read it digitally, he now has a physical copy as well. That's how good the book is.
Exactly.
When you have
Exactly.
it in two different formats, you know the book is good. So, um,
Yep.
uh, kudos to the creative team involved, and we enjoyed it. And if you haven't picked this up yet,
Yeah,
or
it's still out there. Mm-hmm.
if it's new to you, like it was to Nick, can't recommend enough. Hit up Comixology if you do digital. Actually, it's Amazon now. Or physical. Head to your local comic shop or Amazon.com. And you'll be able to pick this up for yourself and read it. But Nick and I will be back covering more Power Rangers news and pieces of entertainment. A lot more comic reviews coming around the corner. Hopefully we'll get some more reboot news soon as well.
Mm-hmm.
But until we're back again, enjoy the 29th anniversary of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And remember that the Power Rangers and the Justice League are forever. From their first celebration in the juice bar to their last. So long, everybody.